Good evening. I wish I could let you hear. I wonder if you can hear soot, but I have to turn the noise cancelling up quite a bit because my fan is loud. But welcome. Let's see, where's my buttons? There. Hello, good evening. Merry time of day. Curious what everyone is working with. Hello, good morning, good evening, good time of day. We are back to being lav mic'd up today, so I hope the sound is alright. It tested alright when I did my pre-stream checks, but one never knows. Just because I worry that the overhead microphone picks up all the noise from the computer that is right in front of it. You did hear a purr? That is really, really cute. If I can lean close with my microphone, maybe you'll hear her some more. Gladheader says, I'm painting a patch with my pronouns on it to pin on a jacket. Oh, I love that. That is glorious. So much fun to do those kinds of things by hand. I don't actually know what I'm going to do today. So let's do the thing that I think you do if you're a streamer. Let's do a poll. I think that's over here, isn't it? Aha! Let's see. Which project? And between the two of them we have our intrepid Victorian crazy patchwork that we are embroidering. That is a very nice, it was the first project I ever did on stream, and the progress has been glacier slow because I'm not filming it for a video other than streams, so it's just chilling out. So let's see. So that'll be crazy patchwork, embroidery, and then the other one is, see if I can do this without making too much noise for your ears, for all the people wearing headphones. I should get better at muting stuff when I'm not talking. I have to find the easy way to do that. That's not the right. There you are. A ball of yarn, and the other one is our intrepid knitting. Let's see if you can see that lace knit for the, what did I call it? As You Like It shawl in different colors. This is a white one that I started almost as soon as I finished the black one and released a video of that because I don't know, I just like the wild nature of just knitting along, following whichever pattern we want. So that could be a fun one. What pattern am I doing here? That could be a challenge. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing because it's been a while. So let's see. And As You Like It shawl and start poll. Let's see, how does this work? Oh, it did a thing. And see. Knitting a second sock. That is very nice. The second sock is always the challenging one, isn't it? Because you've done it once and now you have to make it match up. Marianne is making a mock-up for altering a top. We love to see that kind of creativity. Joanna folded some laundry. It's an accomplishment because my mental health issues make housekeeping so hard for me. That is really, really great. I love that people are using these lives for that kind of thing, that we aren't just crafting together, but we are also making projects together and doing housework and having fun with that. Just helping people in general, do the adulting and the personability thing. And now sitting down to fell seams on a pair of wide linen pants made from a weirdly cut and non-fitting skirt. Nice. And Max currently using the Coptic Tarim stitch to make a coaster flat on a square shape. That is very nice. Lynn says fancy technology. In terms of the pole, yes, I agree. Very much so. It's something that seems fun to do, but not always that easy to accomplish. I was going to put a blanket on, but it is very warm. Let's see if we can do Kitty Stream before we end the poll. What did I put? That would be this one, wouldn't it? Yeah. There we are, madam, even looking at the camera. Hi, baby. I am wearing all inherited clothes, as we just had a relative of someone we know pass away, and spouse was helping them clear out their apartment, so we suddenly ended up with a surprising amount of clothes, and suddenly we have a lot of clothes that I wouldn't necessarily pick out if I was shopping myself, but now that it's in the house, you can bet your kitty butt that we are absolutely going to use them, aren't we? Including weirdly red legging things with pockets, because pockets are important. But yeah. Lynn says, not crafting anything, surviving in this heat is challenge enough on its own. I can very much understand that. Let's see if we can get back to our regular, slightly better camera. It looks like it's going to be the crazy patchwork embroidery, and which, now that you're saying it, Lynn, is a good point, because wool in this heat may have been a challenge. So I shall put this away. Go back in your reusable shopping bag that has never been used for reusable, or maybe in the beginning, groceries before, because what are they but really excellent? What are reusable bags but really excellent project bags? So Maria says, I'm removing lint hairy fibers from 3 items. Later on, I'll be unpicking a broken zipper to replace from a winter coat. Oh, that is a good project. Zippers are moody. I once worked in a cobbler shop of a friend for a few short weeks to try to help out, and they realized that I could replace zippers on boots, because that is very accurate and precise work, and suddenly I got all of the zippers and boots for projects like it, because they didn't have, because why not use me for something that I could do when that was happening? We don't have anything to sew with, do we? We have embroidery floss and our project, but I don't think we have a needle easily at hand. That would be too easy. We were supposed to be prepared for this project. Are we gonna have to evict you early, madam? You're being such a good girl. Just so I can get some needles to stitch with. We are incredibly soft-hearted in this house, so there you go. Maybe she will come back. see, where is me pincushion? You're over here, aren't you? Everything is so organized when the mind is chaotic and everything is happening all at once. See, ooh. There we go. Now we should be safe to return. Hello. Would you like to come back, madam? Can I entice you with a secondary snack? One can always be enticed with a secondary snack, can't you? See here? It's right here. Good girl. Catherine says, I'm also not prepared to see or sew along today, working on that, finishing up breakfast, hoping to get some sewing done soonish. Well, it's good that it's not just me being a bit frazzled, having a bad case of no longer July, but August apparently, so 1st of August happening. Glad Hatter says, I feel a bit better now. I was running around 30 seconds before the start of the stream, assembling my materials and feeling very unprepared. Oh, you know, I was thinking that we were going to start with me not even sitting in the chair because someone was occupying it, and we'd make a whole, thing out of a disembodied voice behind the camera, just pointing at soot, and, this shall be our instructor or usurper for the day. But then spouse did something interesting, so she leapt out of the chair anyway, so we didn't get to do that. Maybe another time. But yeah, it's been a July, folks, and it'll be a August as well. A lot of stuff is happening, a lot of crazy changes keeping our brains busy, so mind very frazzled, so do not feel worried if you are not prepared. Maybe I should do more of that, where I just run around like a headless chicken in the beginning of the live stream, so that you can all feel better about everyone just doing things as it suits us. You're being very loving, darling. Don't you get enough love in your life? Hi. Okay, I think we are settling down. Let's see. So I hope everyone is doing well and that everyone have had a good August. It's been interesting. Oh, wait, had a good August, had a good July. We are just started on August. This is what I keep saying. My brain is completely fried. Lots of stuff is happening and I'm not sure how I'll keep my head screwed on right, but I guess we shall just have to wait and see, because there is no rest when life insists that change is coming, is there? Do you also have that expression in whatever language you have? Because I know it's in both Norwegian and English, I do think. In Norwegian we'd say that an accident rarely comes alone, but in the case of the word, they mean accident, mishap, as in usually something negative happening. And I'm pretty sure that, what would the English term be? When it rains, it pours, I think, is one expression that gets used in a similar vein. So we can absolutely testify to that. Lots of stuff happening. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting I'm wearing a lav mic and shouldn't really have things too close to my chest. Joanna says, I'm pretty stressed overall because in September I'm first going to the festival Medieval and need to get my gear ready, and then I'm going to travel to Uzbekistan and need some additional clothes to wear. A lot of my stuff has gotten too small, so I need to sew new things. Oh, that would stress me out too. That does sound like a lot of work. I hope you manage to get everything done before you get too stressed. Catherine says, I would actually find that occasional chaos heartening. I sometimes forget the live stream is happening, but it's a priority. I should set a reminder. Oh, thank you. That is so sweet. I do enjoy doing the live stream. It feels like it's been a while now, because it has, because I was sick last week, and then we did an early one because I had some guests visiting, so I feel like I'm all out of practice. It's a bit weird. It's just a water battle, madam. You already had 2 snackies. I know, it's disappointing. Which, if you are a regular here, I'm usually grabbing my water bottle when I get a notification on OBS that tells me that we are getting up to getting some ads soon. But don't worry, if you're new here, we pause for ads, because ads in a very real way helps support the channel, so we don't want to leave people behind if they get ads. Not all of you are gonna get ads. It's based on geolocation, stuff like that, but we take a moment to just take a moment, have a rest, have some beverage of your choice, and sit and chill. Cuddle the kitty. Maybe we should get an overlay. Maybe I should do something like that. I've seen some of the pro live streamers do stuff like put text on screen so that people understand that we are paused for ads when it happens, if they join just as we are being quiet. That would be organized, wouldn't it? Be all proper and things. It's hotter than usual. I realize I need to make long-sleeved shirts. I've been getting more sunburns this year. Oh no, can't wear sleeveless shirts during the day now, even with sunscreen. Gives an excuse to sew at least. Oh, that is very frustrating. I do the same. I've made a couple of thin linen shirts and even some very thin cotton long-sleeved shirts, and they are amazing, especially when they're slightly poofy in the sleeve so that the fabric sort of stands up away from your skin. I love that, because then the sun hits that and bounces off and it doesn't really reach your skin. The difference when I started wearing that instead of, your everyday t-shirts or close to the skin tops like these, where the sun hits the fabric that is also touching your skin, is they can't even be compared. The difference is amazing. It's really, textiles and sewing is so much engineering. It's astonishing. It really, really is. So, fellow long sleeve fan over here, I really enjoy cooling down in that way in summer. It's one of my favorite ways to keep cool, absolutely. I can't decide where to stitch. This is starting to be an excellent stream so far. Broken by decision fatigue. Let's just go over here. Marianne says, I'm in my first week of vacation, so everything is great. I'm traveling to Scotland next week and I hope I will not freeze. Oh, that sounds lovely. I hope you have an amazing trip. I haven't been to Scotland. We've been to Ireland. We were invited to a wedding. Some very, very lovely people. Very, very sweet. I definitely want to go back to Dublin to say hi and visit them again. But I haven't had the opportunity to go to Scotland. But hopefully one day. Although I do try to not travel too much because, airplanes and travel and tourism sometimes harming the local stuff and not. But small trips are so nice, especially once in a while as a little treat to explore culture and meet new people. And it's the biggest thing I took away from going to university. It's not the courses that you attend, it's the people that you meet that have different experiences from you that really broaden your horizon. It's unparalleled. It truly, you can't get that without talking to people who have lived different lives than you, and that is so valuable. It helps keep your mind flexible and open to new ideas, I think, anyway. That was without a doubt the most important thing for me about moving away to go to university, was that meeting people with different backgrounds, because they have very different perspectives and you never think about it unless you get faced with it directly. It's super interesting, something that always fascinates me. People are really fascinating. Catherine says, I rewatched the old one 2 weeks ago 2 times already. Thank you, that is very nice, sweet of you. Hopefully now you have some new stuff to watch as well. At least we're starting to get a little library of lives, although the early ones are a lot more wonky then. Hopefully they are a little bit better now, but I still feel like it's not been that long, but I guess it's been. Has it been almost 6 months? March, April, didn't it? So maybe 4 or 5 months? Goodness, time flies. I still feel like I'm a beginner at this. You see, some people are so skilled that they just have all of these buttons and all of this stuff and all of this set up, but I guess we don't really need that because we are not quite as energetic and things. We're just chilling out together and having a moment in time to craft and chat and maybe get some chores done. Glad Hatter says, reminds me, my grandma moved into a new home recently and got rid of a bunch of her fabric. I got a big piece of nice linen. I'm going to try to turn it into a summer dress. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, that sounds like a lovely project. Both because, a lovely summer dress is lovely, but also because you get to remember your grandma when you use it and where the fabric comes from. I always think those projects are a lot of fun. I find the same when I'm doing scrap projects with scrap fabric, because then I get to look at the various scrap fabrics that I've accumulated over the years and remember the various projects that got done and what I made and how it got made and the issues that I had. Someone shook a food jar downstairs, so I guess we have been abandoned. Stripy Crayon says, hello crafters, I'm spinning up the Welsh mountain sheep wool, and my way to keep cool is cut the divide out of a loose romper jumpsuit and sewed it back up into a dress, much more breezy. Oh, that sounds amazing. I really like loose clothes are so amazing when it's really warm. It's amazing how much it helps. It's to the point where I've stopped having the instinct of, pulling off layers when it's really warm. It's more like, oh, but can I find some really flowy loose layers instead to make sure that the heat never really, or at least the sun, doesn't quite reach my body in the same way. But even when I'm inside, I find that loose flowy things absolutely helps so much. So I hope everyone is staying safe in the heat and not overheating and remembering to hydrate and all of those good things. Luxelaire says, heel successfully turned. Well, congrats. That is always a good point to celebrate. And then it's just straight ahead and some decreases until the toe. Unless you're doing toe up, I suppose. But anyway, if it's the ankle or the toe, either is fairly easy once the heel is done. It's always very nice to get to that point. So congrats. Well done. Maria says, I'm just glad my sewing mojo, has returned after almost 2 weeks of nothing. I filled the time with other tasks around the house, but it's not the same, is it? No, it really isn't. There is something about getting to sit down and work on something. I mean, household tasks and chores that need to be done does need to get done, and we kind of just have to get on with those things, and it can be very nice to end up with a nice clean kitchen, but it's also, it's a task that has to be done the same way again and again and again and again, whereas when I'm sewing a thing, it's repetitive, but I also get to make new stuff and think about friends and chat with nice people and make gifts for people, think about the next project I'm making. It's different in many ways. So I agree there. It's always valuable to have time to do those household tasks that just needs to get done no matter what you do. And it's very nice to get to do some creative stuff and crafty stuff, no matter what that might be. I mean, that can be baking and cooking as well, if you feel creative doing that. I do, maybe about half of the time. Sometimes cooking is just another household task because we need to get fed, and sometimes you get to try a new recipe, and that's a lot of fun. Or bake a new cookie or cake or do a new experiment. I find especially allergy cooking can get really, if you look at it from a curious standpoint rather than, so I've met some people who get annoyed because it seems like it's an inconvenience, but from a curiosity standpoint, how can I make this thing work for different people's allergies can be so much fun, because you get to experiment trying to find the same texture with different ingredients. I like it anyway. Alex says, hello everyone, good evening Alex, welcome. It is a frazzled type of day. I've already forgotten myself at least twice. I first voted on what I was going to do, and then I didn't remember to bring sewing needles or anything over, so I had to go and get that, and then I sat here for several minutes just staring at the embroidery, because apparently my brain is a mushroom today and it doesn't seem to be working very well. I think it's going to be very similar in August. We have a lot of changes coming up, but I'm going to get to show you that in September, so I'm looking forward to that. Look, I won't say more than that, but we have some changes coming up, and that will keep me very much preoccupied and busy for a while yet. But I'm still very much looking forward to getting to hang out with you once in a while. Hopefully, I'm hoping we'll manage to keep all the Thursdays free as much as we can, so we can still hang out and chat and create things, or just talk about supporting each other or whatever it may be. But we shall see. I will do my best. And if you are new here and you're wondering, I do try to do lives on Thursdays when around this time, depending on when that is for you. So I will put a link in the chat if you want to hang out with us, where I try to let people know if I am sick or otherwise unable to do so. Let's see, Shane says, hello again, happy to have found your live stream for a second time. After watching the previous live stream and a lot of your vids, we ended up at a Viking festival last week. Oh, that sounds so much fun. It was absolutely amazing. Thank you for sending us in that direction, albeit unwittingly. Oh, I'm so glad that it gave you a new experience. That is really, really cool. I am glad you had a lot of fun. That is so, I think they are a lot of fun. There's such a mood to Viking and medieval and historical markets that is just so unique. I just feel like you leave the clock and the phone at the entrance, because you just get into this, I don't even know how to describe it, you sort of just get really present. Maybe that's just me because I hang out with my friends and have so much fun, but it's amazing. Alex says, I wanted to share about last weekend. I went on a wool holiday. Oh, that is cool. From Friday to Monday, I did all things wool related, spinning, felting, weaving, knitting, and even turned a nystipinna. Oh, I love that. So many different crafts. You did so much. Amazing you managed to cram all that into one weekend, even a long one. That is seriously impressive. And especially now you get to enjoy having a nystipinna in the first place, which is, we love to see it. Stripy Crayon says, when it comes to allergy cooking and restrictions, apparently bananas make a decent substitute for eggs when making pancakes. Yeah, I've seen that too. I've also used applesauce sometimes with, depending on what kind of cooking you're doing, sometimes yields similar results. It keeps moisture really well, keeps the cake nice and moist, but depending on what you needed the eggs to do, sometimes that doesn't work. And for a bit of I know a lot of people are STEM interested, but it could be an interesting fact nevertheless. Someone who grew up in a country where Sami also live, we learn in biology that the, what shall I say, body fluid, most alike to eggs, if you need to substitute it with anything else, is blood. So you could actually substitute eggs for blood in things like pancakes, and they turn out really well because the protein content and stuff like that is fairly similar. And I've had that. We went to a Viking market in Lofoten where one of the stalls sell traditional Sami blood pancakes, and they are delicious. And I've also heard fishermen's wives and things like that use roe, so fish eggs, because that is also eggs, and they would have sort of fish egg pancakes. So it's amazing how much people just would substitute and change things and just do what they need to do to make sure that they use all the resources in their environment in a good and effective way. Blood pancake, exactly, and they're tasty. I've had them. They're really good. They look dramatic, but very tasty. Shane says, we had the same experience at the Viking market. We are techies, but hardly took any photos as we were so absorbed. Yes, that is the thing. I had to mentally, I knew that I wanted to make a short video for Sir, I'm sorry, let me just close the door for a moment. To try to reduce some of the noise. Yeah, I wanted to make a short video to share with people what it was like to be at a local Viking market to me, and pardon the noise. It was an effort. It was hard to take out. If you notice that none of the clips in that short video are more than around 10 seconds long, for that reason, because it felt so weird to be filming at the same time. And it was just, yeah, it doesn't feel like the thing to do. You feel like being in the moment with your friend and having fun. Do you like a snack? You're a very good food motivated madam. What is a nystipinna? How do we explain a nystipinna in a succinct way without having a hank lying around? But if you've ever, yeah, we didn't get a snack for you. Madam, I know the snacks are in that drawer, but that wasn't what I was getting. If you have a regular ball of yarn like this one has a sort of a stomach belt because I've used it for something else, but this kind of shape, If you've ever seen them getting wound in a mill, then they come from nøstepinne technology, where you start with a stick, which conveniently I don't really have a stick lying around that I could demonstrate with. I am so prepared today. But you have a stick, and this is an excellent stick, and you have your yarn. You have a big hank that has been plant dyed or just wound up or something, and you're going to wind it up into a ball of yarn. So you hold the end of the yarn and you sort of wind it around the stick, and it helps you keep an even shape. And at the end of the day, you can pull it off and you get a ball of yarn where if you hold on to that first thread, or you keep it a little bit long and attach it to the bottom of your stick, then you get a ball of yarn that you can either do center pull or outside pull. And it's just a fun way to wind up hanks of yarn into balls of yarn. And wait, what did I find? Do we have any videos of that? See if I can find. Oh, I made a short of that at some point, didn't I? Can I find that without spending half the live doing that? There we go. You're gonna turn on sound now, aren't you? What if I turn? Wait. Oh, we've gone down this route before. If I mute the site before I click it, haha, then I don't think I blow your ears out opening a thing. There is a nøstepinne, kind of. Actually, it's just a ladle stick, but whatever stick you need works. Yeah, you can have another one, that's fine. Here you go. Let's just see. It was just the one, darling. I knew you get all eager because they put all sorts of catnip in those snacks, but it was just the one. Yeah, I know. I know, sweetie. I know. It's very unfair. You can also use soy protein and or chia seeds in water to replace eggs. Yeah, I've tried that too. Yeah, that is a good one. We also use linseeds in a similar way. Chia seeds are kind of more powerful. They make more jelly per seed, but linseeds also work really well, especially if you ground them up a bit. Super effective. Alex says there was so much to do. I didn't even get to do everything. I didn't have time for natural dyeing, but I had already done some natural dyeing by myself. But the best thing was the friendships I made. Oh, I hear that. That is so often the case, that you get to meet so many cool people with similar interests. And sometimes when we feel like we are a little bit weird and different in our interests, it's so nice to meet other people who are weird in similar ways, to just reassure us that other people also enjoy this and we can have friends who support our interests, especially if that is something that we don't get elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Gladhatter says, I'd heard about the fact that substituting blood for eggs before, but only in the abstract. I had no idea it was part of anyone's traditional cooking. That is very cool. Yup. Traditional Sami blood pancakes, they are delicious. Absolutely. I haven't seen them available a lot of places, but I'm sure it's possible to find. Can a large dowel be used as the same method for winding up yarn? Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I used a wooden, stirring stick, and that didn't work, that had worked really well. And I was even worried because it had like a shape that it was wider at the tip and then it tapered and narrowed. So I was worried I wouldn't be able to pull the finished ball of yarn off again. but that worked really well, no problem, so long as you don't wind too tightly. So a dowel would work no problem. I'm very much a fan of use what you have rather than feeling like you need a very fancy tool to do the thing. So it's Nøstepinne is at its essence a fancy stick. And I remember talking about this with Evie when Evie guested us on the channel, and we got to sit and chat for 3 hours. That was very hard to edit down. And we talked about distaffs as well, and how distaffs are very important historically and used a lot, but it's difficult for archaeologists to identify them unless they know a lot about spinning, because it's a fancy stick. Same with the Nøstepinne, same with so many other tools. I mean, the spindle stick as well is a much smaller stick, but in the same way it's a small stick. It's another stick. How do you identify one stick from another based solely on things like size and weight and taper and wear marks especially? Oh goodness, wear marks are so fascinating. I love a good wear mark. There's a huge surge in crafters who are curious about flax and linen these days. And I have friends who are hungry for more uses for all parts of the plant. Using linseed for baking is genius. Okay, I'm gonna be weird for a moment. Or is linseed not a common cooking ingredient elsewhere? Because it's sold in Norway. Again, we were talking about moving earlier and moving for university to meet different people, and how you get exposed to how even the absolutely smallest everyday thing that you think is a commonplace for a lot of people turns out to be hyper local. Such as when I moved to the north, the Arctic Circle and beyond, to Tromsø to study. I moved so far north that they have, like, especially along the coast, all the trees get really short because it's cold and it's windy, so they get really short and bushy. They get sort of more like bushes than trees. And so some of the friends I got there that had grown up in the north, I talked about how I would take them south to where I was from and show them, majestic oaks that are like 4, 5, 6 stories high, and you can't hold around them, and they almost didn't believe me, because to them trees were just spindly things. And similarly, linseeds in Norway, flax seeds, are sold in the baking aisle alongside sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. Lately, as a fancy addition, we've gotten started to get chia seeds, but they're more expensive. Sunflower seeds and linseeds were really the OG seeds that would get added in bread baking in Norway, and it was a very common ingredient. So it's interesting that that might not be everyone's experience. Let's see. Isn't the distaff basically also a fancy stick? Yes, it is, exactly, and I find that super fascinating. So many things can be done with, quote unquote, just a fancy stick. Linseed is common, but it's called flaxseed here in Canada. Yeah, I wouldn't know what you call it different places in English-speaking countries. Because you have a distinction between the flax plant and linen, but in Norwegian they're all linen. We would call it the linen plant, and linen seeds and linen fabric, they're all kind of in one and the same. So whether something is called flax seeds, but I guess, flaxseed then makes sense because the flax plant has not yet been turned into linen. I suppose that is one way to remember that. Yeah, so it should probably be flaxseed, but I'm sure there are some geographical local variations. There usually seems to be. asked, I know of linseeds because being used in breads whole like a sesame seed, but not as a thickening agent, protein and binding. Yes, well, it doesn't work if you add it directly into bread, then it would work as a seed because all the other things are taking up the water. But if you do, just like you would with chia seeds, if you take warm water and you add to it and you let it sit, you will see that it gets that, you know, that gel coating outside. It doesn't quite get as thick as chia seeds, but it's still there, and it absolutely can be used in the same way. So if flax seeds are more local to you, that might be an option. One of my favorite kinds of cookies has linseeds and blueberries in it, though. That sounds delicious. I'm a fan of a good old chewy oat chocolate chip myself. Raisins are good too. I'm an old person in a young person body, slowly becoming my true self. So I like most kinds of dried fruits that I've tried. Can't name any that I didn't. But yeah, I'll do a good oatmeal raisin cookie as well, no problem. I do not discriminate against raisins, although I know that it's often a very polarizing topic. I don't think linseed is used as a cooking oil, or not here. It's used as a wood oil though. Yeah, same. And then you have to be careful because if your rag dries out, it can be a fire hazard. I remember a friend of mine who trained to be a carpenter. No, isn't there a specific word for furniture carpenter, like fine woods carpenter? Anyway, that kind of thing. And they were very careful about where they let their rags that they had been sanding or oiling their finished products with, because they would be very, very flammable. But yellow, madam, is it approved? He's giving me an eye of these are not snacks. Yeah, Luxelair mentioned the same thing, that linseed also spontaneously combusts, so that can be a challenge for sure. Kelly says in California there are no seeds in the baking aisle. Most seeds would be in the health section. Interesting. That's another thing I haven't thought about. Grocery store layouts as a, you know, the way to distinguish different regions and different experiences. I like going to new grocery shops if I visit new places because it's always cool to see what other sorts of food they have, but I'd never really thought about the layout itself being something that will be different from place to place, but it makes sense. Yeah, in Norway you'd find a lot of nuts and seeds alongside the baking aisle. It's just where they hang out, I guess. Dried fruit too. They're sort of alongside the flowers and the baking powder and the vanilla sugar and other things like that. Interesting. We're learning all sorts of fun things. Yes, the polymerization is exothermic. Yeah, I'd never thought about that, but that, yeah, of course that makes sense. That if something gets warm on its own, that would be an exothermic reaction. Catherine says flaxseed, yes, very popular as a dietary supplement. May even have the oil in the section for cooking at local natural food store. Flaxseed in my region too. Huh, dietary supplement. Yeah, I mean, it's very good for that, absolutely. I'm learning all sorts of things this stream, namely that seeds are not always considered baking goods, but also supplements, which makes sense. They are very nutritious. There's a reason we add them to bread, in addition to their nice but subtle flavor. I didn't know flax seeds are also linseed seeds. Yeah, I can see that. I would think that should be a global thing. And now I'm getting worried for saying it for sure, just because you never know if there might be a local variety, but I hope that's the same all over the world. English can be very confusing. With so many different nations speaking it, there's bound to be misunderstandings and confusions and, some words being used in certain regions and others not at all. You always get these lists of words that mean one thing across the pond and another on the other side, which can lead to a good deal of confusion. A furniture carpenter is a cabinet maker, I think. Oh, that's a good word. I like that. Yeah, furniture maker would or furniture carpenter would sort of be the direct translation of the Norwegian term of then cabinet maker, as the kind of finer, more detailed skills. There are some really skilled cabinet makers out there. There are so many gorgeous. I just love seeing skilled people work. You know, people who have been training years and years and years to hone their craft. Doesn't really matter what that craft is. I just find it really riveting, really, really fascinating to look at. Just skilled hands working is so satisfying. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just, it doesn't even have to be a skill that I know myself. Sometimes it's even better if it isn't. I just get so, human beings are so cool and they can make so many pretty things. I get so amazed at the stuff people make. I think I'll never tire of it. I certainly haven't yet, and I don't think I will. It's just so satisfying. We are about to have some ads again, so we shall have a small water break. Remember to hydrate, everyone, especially if you are in a part of the world that is currently experiencing summer and getting quite warm. Shall we do a kitty break at the same time? Let's see, where's me webcam? One day I'll get the camera set up so I can show you with the good camera, but for now, this shall be our ad break montage for those of you who don't get ads. Kelly says 15 different kinds of chocolate chips, but no seeds. I have to admit a thing. I know chocolate chips are deeply, deeply common in the US, at least so I have heard. Maybe elsewhere too. Chocolate chips are not common in Norway at all. We would take a plate of baking chocolate and just chop it up and use that as chocolate chips. It has started appearing in some of the more expensive fancy stores as, a fancy item that is, priced thereafter. But mostly when I'm cooking, I just grab a 100-gram bar of some baking chocolate and I have to chop it myself. I don't mind, that is what I'm used to, but in a lot of stores in Norway, you wouldn't even find one different kind of chocolate chips. Again, regional varieties are so fascinating. This kind of conversation is why I love internet communities with international members. Fun to learn about little everyday things that are different. Yes, I agree. I find it so fascinating. It's the tiniest things that you wouldn't think about too. Like things you have thought have been normal since you were very little. And then suddenly you just get told that no, that is something that you do only in a very tiny community among very few people in a very small part of the world. It's super cool. Glass blowing is mesmerizing and so is blacksmithing. Oh, I love watching glass blowers work. If you work in a university, or at least in a STEM chemistry kind, a lot of the time, if you work in either pharmacology or organic chemistry, you may have need for custom glassware. So a lot of universities, this is such a requested thing, will employ technical glass blowers to do that kind of work, to make custom glass tubes and vials and jar, like various stuff, so that if it's a very, very specific reaction and they can't make do with what you can purchase, it has to be made in-house. And where I did my PhD and my master's for that matter, our university was sort of, the building that I was in had a lot of courtyards, because in Norway there are rules, of course, that offices need to have a certain amount of daylight. And one of the ways that they solved that was to have courtyards, sort of squares opening up to large open spaces, even though it was technically inside the building, with the offices facing there, in addition to facing, outside of the rest of the building. And those courtyards you could walk past, and you would look straight into people's offices, and or auditoriums or group rooms or many different things. A lot of them were group rooms, and a lot of the offices were actually facing properly outside, but that still satisfied the rules. And in the basement, in one of those, I would grab my lunch, and sometimes I would just stand over the railings and just look at the glass blowers working while I was having my lunch. You have windows, so you could just see straight into them working. And they also had lined up all these adorable glass animals on their windowsill, because they're such excellent practice for your skill, like making sure that you move things just right and heat it just right. And I went to one glass bead making course at a Viking market once, and I have the utmost respect for these crafters. They truly are masters of their craft, and it's so cool to watch. So yeah, absolutely agree. It's very, very cool. And Alex coming with another glass blowing story, it looks like. I have always loved looking at people doing their craft. I remember when I was really young, I was at a market where someone was blowing glass, and I stayed to watch for literally hours. Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. In the end, the glass blower gave me a little glass ball because he liked how interested I was. Well, that is so sweet. What a great memory. That is really, really nice. I'm totally the child that would do that if I was allowed to. Would just stand and stare and either watch or talk to people doing amazing crafts for hours on end, because it really is so amazing. It's watching, I don't know, that kind of, and if you watch a crafter do what they're doing, what I really love is when you see that kind of focus in their eyes, either focus or kind of that Zen mode where they're just in the zone, and then you get to see their hands work. Those two things together, it doesn't really matter what craft they're doing. It can be blacksmithing, glass blowing, sewing, knitting, woodworking, cooking, carpentry, masonry, roof tiling, road building. I don't even so many amazing things. And just that connection, when you know what you're doing, you have the mastery, and your hands are doing the work. It's just chef's kiss. So deeply satisfying. Joanna says, in the 19th century, they would do lamp work in their homes with just an oil lamp and a blowpipe. It's not exactly glass blowing, but one can do the same. Oh, that sounds fascinating, but also a bit dangerous. I'm hoping people stayed safe doing that, but still really, really cool. I'm probably focusing way too much on this little patch, but what is life without a little bit of overdoing it? Yeah, I hope everyone is staying safe in the summer season. It tends to be so devastating when the heat waves roll around. It's not not uplifting reading that it is becoming such a common thing that happens every year. But hopefully we can try to keep people safe and sound. I think it must be several lives ago now, probably a month ago, people suggested I do lacy daisies, and since then I feel like I have done little but lacy daisies. They really are so cute and fun and fast to make. Let's see if I can show you this once I'm done. See if I can manage to show this to the camera. We're doing a little gingham pattern, but yeah, these tiny lacy daisies are so much fun to do, and they're pretty fast too. I did some more of them last time in pink, and we talked about just covering this project in so many of them that it will just be overwhelming. Sometimes it's fun to just completely over embellish a piece, I think, anyway. But rarely we have the time to do that, don't we? Because a garment often, want to get used and things. That is my theory about why a lot of really embellished clothing, at least in Norway, is smaller pieces of fabric and things that are easier to sew or make or have spares of. In Norway, you'll often see that traditionally, if you go to the museums, what was decorated on, traditional fall costumes would be things like mittens, caps, dress aprons, sort of fancy aprons that weren't meant for cooking or taking stains. They were meant to be fancy and embellished, but I mean, it's a square of fabric, so it's pretty fast to make. Also socks, embellishing ankles, which goes against that British and Victorian beauty standard of smaller feminine ankles being attractive, whereas in especially Telemark you had, let's see if I can find that, socks that really embellished and made the ankle seem larger because there was so much embroidery going on there. Let's see, Digital Museum. I love how many things have been digitized in Norway. Do I have any one of them saved to my account? That would be so much easier than trying to browse through everything. And I always find it so fascinating because it's in the same time period, but it's distinctly a different. Of course, the people in the cities who were more interested in continental fashion would have followed more of the Victorian, French, British, London fashion, but people in rural areas were a lot more distinct, I guess, in their clothing. You can see that in a lot of other parts of Europe as well, that people in cities would be more interested in following sort of the continental fashion, but the rural people, the farmers, the other people would have different priorities. Have I no socks? Have I just saved mittens? Why? No, wait. There's one. I need to get better folders in the museum. That would make my life a little bit easier. So this is the ankle part. It's amazingly fine. I mean, I could never, when I tried to do a little bit of similar embroidery for the little Victorian purse a long time ago, it was much coarser than this. This is, I mean, imagine the clock part of an 18th century socks. It's not that much bigger and it's embroidered. It's amazing. Wait, where did my stream go? There you go. It's the embroidery is so fine. It's really, really beautiful. And as I was saying, I have a theory that a lot of the decorated stuff that we find in museums, at least for rural people who were working as farmers and had, you know, a lot of other things to do in addition to dressmaking, was the smaller things that it wouldn't take you too long to stitch up, you know, an extra pair of if you had the fabric, so that you could spend winter nights embroidering on that, but you still had a usable pair, and then that became your new Sunday best, as they would say in Norway, your new fancy clothes. And then you would sort of just work on something that was small, but it wasn't, you know, a skirt worth of fabric, because presumably you needed a skirt to be used straight away. You probably needed a new skirt if you're making a new skirt, but if you have just a little bit more fabric than you'd need for a skirt, maybe you have enough to make a pair of socks, and then you can sit and embroider those. And those are the things that get decorated. Of course, now with modernized folk outfits, they embroider the skirts as well, but traditionally I haven't found skirts that are embroidered. It's usually the smaller items that get all the embroidery, and I find that such a telling part about culture, that, you know, you can tell that there are reasons people do what they do. Loxalair says, I put a few lacy daisies on my moth-eaten sweater and they're so much fun to do. Oh, that is amazing. Yeah, they're really good for that because they're so decorative and yet they're so fun. When I finished my sweater, let's see. Ooh, the chat is going away from me. I may put more flowers on it if I get bored, but it's done and I'm so happy to have it. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to just get fabric back in rotation, isn't it? And you have an intention of putting more stuff on it, but then it's a loved item and you just want to use it again, which is also very legit and very fun. I have so many projects where I'm like, oh, I could do this, and then I do the bare minimum and I get it back in rotation and I start on a new project, a new shiny, a new thing that I want to do. We're talking about paint drying. That's when you know you have the most exciting craft enthusiastic chat. And it should only take a few minutes to dry. It's acrylic paint on fabric, so the moisture gets absorbed really easily. I'm just impatient. Oh, I can relate to that, absolutely. When you're in the mood, so to speak, or you're really in the swing of things, even a few minutes can be very, very take a long time to do. And ordinarily I would start a second project, like painting rocks with whatever is left on my palette. Yeah, try to find ways to keep engaged. Looks like there's a few minutes that will be torturous, just long enough to be unending, just short enough that you can't really get something else done. Yeah, it's kind of, if you miss time before, if you're going to hang up your laundry and the washing machine, either your timer or like it says it should be done and it's 1 minute left and it's the longest minute ever because you're standing there staring at it, just willing it to finish. And usually a minute runs by so fast, but if you're waiting for something, it can be such a long time. Your English is amazing? Well, thank you. I credit it to singing a lot, surprisingly. As a teenager, I would belt a whole lot of songs. And also I started using the internet. So I went from having only a theoretical knowledge of English and never using it in my daily life to using it every day to talk to friends on the internet, because, you know, in the 90s and early 2000s, our internet access was unrestricted and wild, and before Facebook and things were just geosites and websites and wild pages and all those kinds of things, and that just really helped. not streamline, but speed up my ability to actually communicate in English, because before that I was truly rubbish. We are about to have some more ads. So do remember to hydrate. Madam here is having a snooze, showing us all what self-care and resting looks like. It's very good to have someone who can demonstrate for us if we ever forget. Yeah, we're talking about you. Finally calm down after all the snacks. The washing machine thing is terrible. Yeah. It's sometimes I will put on an alarm on my clock or on my phone. If I need to be somewhere, I need to do something, I need to hang up the laundry like just before I run out of the house. And if the washing machine then takes even 5 minutes longer than it's supposed to do, you're standing there like, come on. Most countries speak better English than us Brits? Nah. So long as we can communicate and understand one another, that is the most important, isn't it? And with a bit of goodwill from both sides, I find that that is usually something you can accomplish, to be honest. I mean, in Norway we have, of course, we have Sweden, and then there's Denmark, and then, and when I grew up, we didn't have so much content made for us in Norwegian, especially child stuff. So you would get, sometimes if you were lucky enough to get cartoons, you might get them in Swedish or Danish. And if you were exposed to those kinds of things as a child, that really helps understand either of those languages. They are quite similar. So with a bit of goodwill from either end, I find that we can usually understand one another. Some dialects are a lot harder than others, but generally, as long as goodwill is applied, we can get by and make each other understood, make ourselves understood. But it does, as with all communication, it requires effort and goodwill on both parts. Without that, we don't really get anywhere. Oh, I just remembered, I don't know if anyone is from Switzerland, but happy Swiss National Day. I did not realize it was the Swiss National Day, but happy what is it called? Swiss National Day, if you celebrate those things. Merry day indeed. More people agreeing that waiting for the washing machine is terrible, but if I go do something else in those 5 minutes, I will forget and have to do the washing again the next day. Oh no! Yeah, I use spouse's ADHD, and I mean, I'm far from infallible either, so we use a lot of environmental context clues. It's the best way that I can sort of explain it. So when I put the washing on, I will also pull the drying rack out and like open it up and ready it to receive laundry in the bathroom, but then it's empty, of course, there's nothing on it. So why is an empty drying rack standing there unless there was laundry waiting for it? Because when I fold the laundry, I put the drying rack away straight away to get my floor space back. And I also pull out, the laundry basket in front of the washing machine. So there are all of these. In addition to me putting it on my to-doist for the day, remember laundry, I also put environmental reminder in the house. And we do the same. I even managed to teach spouse to do the same in the kitchen. So if there's anything rising in the oven or any food that is slow cooking or something like that, something you might leave, or maybe leftovers after a party that you need to put in the fridge before you go to bed, I will leave, how a lot of stoves have a fan on top and then they have the fan, but they also have a little light. I will leave the light on. And if the light is on, that means that there is food in the kitchen that is either getting worked on or something like that. And Yeah, we also have a couple of things where there's a socket. If we need to turn that off, or it's a thing where we need to know whether it's on or off, because this is an old house. It's all the sockets have not been grounded, so we do need to pull things out, and there are a lot of thunderstorms in this area. It's very common in summer, late summer, for thunderstorms. So we have some sockets where we have them connected to lamps. So you know that if the lamp is on, the socket is in, the socket is connected. So you don't need to go check, you will just know. And I love those kind of putting, you know, that little piece of red string in your environment to remind you of that thing you were supposed to do, because otherwise it just goes straight over my head and gets forgotten straight away. Which is something that at least I can recommend, because it helps in a household of multiple people, that multiple people can see that a thing needs to get done without actually someone feeling like a nag having to remind them. They just see that here is task. I can check what this task is and do it, presumably, which is super, super helpful. At least it has been for us. This is a very relaxing stream to knit to. Why, thank you. We try to make it relaxing for people to do that. And Kathleen says, I made it before you finished. Usually I'm in the middle of work, but today I'm working on projects that allow for multitasking. Also, I set timers for tasks that needs to be revisited. Yeah, I do that too, especially if like I have dough rising or something like that is very time sensitive. But if it's something that isn't as time sensitive, that just needs to be done during the day in some ways, like litter boxes and laundry and stuff like that, then contextual clues are very helpful. But for anything that's cooking, timers are super, super useful. But yeah, timers in general, any tool that we use that works, is just, yes. We love any kind of adaptive tech or skill or process. You are so relaxed right now. Alex says that's the downside to having a dryer. I have to admit, I've never had a dryer in my life. Even when I went to university, I didn't use the dryers because, I mean, we had a laundromat connected to the student housing, and they cost money, and as a student you don't have too much money. So if you're doing your laundry once a week, I'm not going to pay double for a laundry and then a dryer. I'm just going to open my window and use my drying rack as I'm used to. I've never... I hear they're amazing. Oh, of course they also use electricity, but also amazing for getting really, really fluffy towels, but I'm just so used to pulling my drying rack out. It's some kind of magical technology that I haven't really adapted yet. Oh my god. Sweetie pie. Can I show the audience without you changing your position? Because you look... Can I reach? Oh, no. I didn't manage. Come on. Will you go back? Do people know Russell, a soundboard-using cat? He alarms people when there is laundry left in the washer or dryer. That's adorable. It's possible he can smell it and hates it remaining in the machine. Because he came from a hoarding situation, you probably associate the smell with a bad past. Oh, that's a bit sad. But still. Aw, you'd moved. She was stretching out, just enjoying the head snuggles. But I guess I'm bothering her a little bit too much by reaching over to touch the screen to try to get it to line up. Thanks for the stream to help me calm my mind and do self-care. Oh, I'm glad it helps. I'm really glad it helps. We all need a little bit of respite and a rest in between the chaos that is adulting in life, isn't it? Glad Hatter says, yes, that kind of environmental things, it what works the best for my ADHD too. What I usually do is move something that I use a lot out of its usual place. Yeah, that's where we started doing it, and then we realized that we could use it very specifically for certain things as well. I really should be doing it a lot more. A long time ago, when Spouse was studying in London, we had a whiteboard in the kitchen, or I think it was a chalkboard, to do, household chores and things for the day. And we really want to get that set up again because I'm really missing. I mean, one thing is my own managing of the workday and content creation and stuff like that, but there's also, the managing of the household. And if a task is shared, then it needs to be visible somewhere for both members of the household so that everyone has an equal chance of completing said task. And that's where boards are getting really into it. And I'm not sure what solution we're going to go for yet, but we had this idea today of having, it doesn't really matter if it's magnetic or cork or chalk or, well, I guess chalk is difficult because we want something that you can attach things to, either magnetically or with pins, but having, general open place, and maybe a weekly planner, maybe something about dinner and food, different people, different household chores, but also for dinners having either pre-written pins or little icons of food that you can just move around, because that was what would happen a lot with us, was that when we had a whiteboard and we were writing, plans would inevitably change and you would have to wipe out whatever you were having on Tuesday and move it down to Thursday or what have you. And that tiny bit was like, yeah, but it would be so much easier if I could just, like I would do digitally, just drag and drop. And if we have a little magnet or a little pen with a little paper with a piece of text on it that we can move around. I'm thinking, we haven't set it up yet, but I'm hoping that could be a good solution. And then you can have a couple of customizable ones that you just write on a whiteboard or what have you, or a little piece of paper and a pen that you just put. Have a stack of little pieces of paper on the side or something that you can move about. But I'm hoping that could be useful. We need to get back into having some sort of household management system, because that is always such a useful thing to have, to get everyone to feel like they are, doing that third shift, as we call it in Norway, that thinking work, that management work, that planning and, writing shopping lists and all of that kind of stuff that needs to get done in a household. Putting a cheap blanket in the dryer machine to heat up and wearing it around the house in winter is delightful, but that's the only time I want a dryer. Oh, interesting. That makes sense, that it would be nice and warm and cozy. Yeah, I am uninitiated in all of the amazing ways of dryer machines. They are alien to me. All I hear is that the lint, people forget to, empty the lint and then things catch fire and it's scary. But that might be because I'm just not seeing the right kind of content about them. Hi everyone, just lurking today, but I'm here. No dryer in my house. Yeah, me neither, Twian. Sorry. But the people who have them do seem to be enjoying them. And you are welcome to lurk. I'm sure we have more lurkers than we realize. That is kind of the nature of lurking. Don't worry. It's no pressure. You can engage or not at your leisure. We are not strict in that way. I like how the simplest of stitches can just become things like a starry night without almost any. There's just a couple of stitches on top of each other, and yet you can use dryer lint when camping to start your cook fire. That's amazing. That makes sense. I mean, it's lint from your clothes, so a lot of the time it might be plant fiber or synthetic, and then it's a lot of air in between, so it's gonna be very easy to catch fire. Yeah, bringing it for cooking is really clever. That is interesting. Depending on what you dry or what your clothes are composed of. We had a friend who, when we were doing cooking reenactment, would bring... What did they bring? I think they were pieces of wood soaked in tar, but you could also use pieces of cloth soaked in tar or fat, but tar is easier because it dries harder, so it's less sticky. What else have I seen people use? People use so many things in addition to flint and stone to make fires. But yeah, little sticks, little pieces of kindling soaked in tar. They were super efficient at getting that little bit of fire burning long enough, so long as you protected it from the wind, that you actually got a cooking fire started in the morning and could heat your wash water and what have you. It's super, super useful. I have heard that washing machine fires are more common than dryer fires, but both are bad. Huh. I only have to watch out for washing machine fires, so maybe I should just keep it like that. One less thing to remember to maintain and take care of once a year. Make sure that they're emptied and not accumulating. Fires are serious business, and they always look so, I don't know, peaceful in the fireplace, but it's a force of nature, to be sure, that absolutely demands our respect. Forces of nature are not to be trifled with. They will teach you that. They can be very dangerous. Beautiful, but absolutely something to respect. Tian says there's a type of mushroom that's used in starting fire. I have not heard of that. That is so fascinating. Mushrooms can be used for anything, I feel like. They're used for plant dyeing, you cook them, you poison people with them, you start fires with them. I'm sure, yeah, you use them to make the styrofoam duplicate for packing material, like people use them to grow into specific shapes. And people have used them to make cloth, mycelium. They learn so much about the network as things are moving around. Mushrooms are absolutely amazing and fascinating and terrifying all at the same time. And we are about to have some ads again, so we shall... Whoop. Tinder is a fungus? Isn't tinder just kindling for fire? Is tinder a specific thing? Is it not just kindling? And an app, but... Joanna says you can use char cloth. You need a pyrolysis box for it, but you can easily make that from a small metal box. In there you put natural fiber cloth bits and lay it in the campfire until the cloth is charred inside. It's pretty easy. I have heard of that but not tried it. I wonder how common it was, considering how time-consuming making fabrics are. I'm super curious about a lot of these practices and how they were seen at the time. Because one thing is how we see them, but how did people at the time see them? I would love to know. Apparently I can't just lurk. Well, you're welcome to go back to lurking, but that's how it is when we talk about interesting stuff and we learn things. No, tinder is not kindling. It's a fungus. It grows on trees. Huh. In German too, Zunderschwamm. Tinder fungus. Oh, that is so cool. Let's see. We shall Google this. Tinder. Yeah, of course, when you Google Tinder, you just get the app. But fungus. It's one of those. I love those. They're so cool. They look like little hats. What is it called in Norwegian? So you can just dry it and use it as tinder. That's amazing. Mushrooms are incredible. Tinder fungus, false tinder fungus, and hoof fungus. Tinder conch, tinder polypore, or Iceman fungus is a species of fungal plant found in Europe, Asia, Africa, and North America. And species produce very large polypore fruit bodies, which are shaped like a horse's hoof and vary in color from silver gray to almost black, though they are normally brown. Grows on the side of various species of tree, which it infects through broken bark, causing rot. The species typically continues to live on trees long after they have died, changing from a parasite to a decomposer. What about the tinder use? Though inedible, F. fomentarius has traditionally seen use as a main ingredient of amadou, a material used primarily as tinder, but also used to make clothing and other items. The 5,000-year-old Otzi the Iceman, Otzi the Iceman carried 4 pieces of F. fomentarius, concluded to be for use as tinder. It also has medicinal and other uses. So that's why it's called the Iceman fungus. That makes sense. Now, Norwegian, my friend, what are you called? It's slightly less charming. Knusjuke. Well, hjuke is just, I think they're the specific kind of species that grows on trees. It's not quite the charming name as tinder is. I feel it rolls off the tongue in a bit different way. Yeah, Ingrid talking about it as well. Wait, knusktjuke? That is, yeah. So that is where knusk comes from, knusktört. That is, oh, I love etymology. Always learning new stuff when it comes to languages. It just seems inevitable. Wikipedia says tinder is any material used to start a fire, but it's possible that one specific kind of tinder was used in your area, so that one became synonymous. It could also be that it started with something specific and grew to other things, including or starting with the mushroom. Thanks, Twian. I did not know the scientific name. Gotta go to dinner, have fun. I hope you have fun as well. I can always share the Wikipedia article. I love Wikipedia for finding, so as soon as you find the correct Latin name for anything, it's so easy to just use the different languages. Either take the Latin name and Google it in a different language, or to just use the translation function in Wikipedia to see what it looks like in different languages, especially with plant names, animal names, tree names, whatever have you. Names are so different between languages that you can't really rely on translating anything directly. It just doesn't make sense. So you need to go find a Latin name, and we would do that when I was working as a gardener, a landscape gardener at the university where I did my undergrad. We would take care of the university grounds, the grasses and everything, and we were such an international group that it was the best way to communicate between us was to find the Latin name. And usually we would just communicate in the Latin. That was the easiest for everyone to do. But if you didn't know the Latin, you would just look it up on Wikipedia, and then you would either tell them the Latin or you would just show it to them, and they would know what it was called in their language. And that was a lot of fun. Learned so much those summers that I worked there not least communicating with people who do not share a common language. It was, how many languages were there? One summer we had, well, me, I speak Norwegian and English. I have the teeniest basic understanding of French and German from school, but it's not functional. You know, it's a word here and there, but it's not actually functioning for communication. You can do, you know, hand wavium and gestures and goodwill. You can get somewhere, but you're not going to get very far. And then you had Alliance, our friendly, I think she was she Ghanaian? But she spoke Ghanaian, English, French, and Norwegian. She was, well, she also went to study in China, so she learned Chinese, but she had lived in France for a while. She was such a polyglot. She spoke so many languages. She was amazing. Still is amazing, as far as I know. So she could speak with we had an older Polish couple that came in their summers. They were retired back in Poland, but they would come in summer to sort of add on to their retirement. And she, the female of the couple, was an old Polish French teacher, and like a lot of older Eastern European people, they also spoke Russian. So they spoke Polish, Russian, and French. Well, she did that because she was a teacher. He spoke, her husband spoke Polish and Russian, so it was difficult for me to communicate with those. We would wave and sometimes do single words in French, unless Alliance was close by and could help us with the French. And then we had a Spanish gentleman. He spoke obviously Spanish and English. And we had two people, another couple from the Czech Republic, and they spoke, of course, Czech and English and some Norwegian, because they've been in Norway for so long. They'd done these. They would do the garden work in summer, and then they would take their sledding dogs over to Finland in winter and work in one of the ice hotels. And they could communicate because Czech was, I'm going to be on thin ice here, but they were close enough that with goodwill they could communicate with Polish and make themselves understood well enough that they could get things across. And I'm sure we had more. There were so many languages. Yeah, and there was also Finnish once in a while, and it was just so much fun. And you just learn to, again, just use all of your goodwill to communicate, and we had so much fun. It was the best work environment that I've ever been in. Our lunches were so much fun. Everyone would bring their own lunch, and we would sit at the lunch table eating, laughing, and then go wherever we were going to continue working. But lunches were, if you could, you tried to make your way back for lunch. Sometimes you were so far away that you couldn't really, but most of the time you could, and it was so nice. Yes, it seems that in German the word for fungus, Zunderschwamm, as for tinder, Zunder, are basically used synonymously. So I thought it was the same in English. Oh, I love that we learned so much here. Yeah, same as stripy cranes. I love how much knowledge is gently passed around in these hangouts. It's so fascinating. And I love that I get to learn so many new things, and we get to share in the enthusiasm of learning new stuff, because how fun is it to get to learn new things every day? That's just the best. You don't learn so many new things every day, but you still learn new stuff and amaze me when suddenly you're in a spot that I didn't know you could reach. You are very bouncy. Cats can jump so much higher than I think. It's amazing. Sometimes a little bit inconvenient, but usually amazing. Do we have time for a little bit more before my voice has left me completely? Or do we need to call it a little bit early? I'm feeling a little bit. I suppose I've been feeling under the weather, so I hope I won't catch whatever they have, but I'm not making any bets. But some pink flowers wouldn't go amiss, don't you think? Not interesting. Not food related, not interesting. The Slavic languages seem to be relatively interintelligible. A Polish friend of mine once said that if he hears other Slavic languages, it sounds to him as if a drunk person with brain damage was trying to speak Polish. There's a bit of a... That's quite an analogy, but yeah, that is my understanding as well. Of course, my only working understanding is how Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian are all close enough that we can understand each other well enough, so long as everyone applies their goodwill. There's always going to be words that are different, but so long as everyone is trying their best, you can generally figure out what those words are and get around them, or you can teach each other what they mean, and then you both get to learn something new. And I had the impression that it was similar, but maybe they're a little bit more distinct, the Slavic languages, but of course, I am an outsider looking in, so I couldn't say for sure since I only have one experience, and the Slavic languages is not something I have intimate knowledge of, other than hearing it talking. They are gorgeous. And the French teacher, the Polish French teacher, taught me one of her apple cakes, so it's written down in my cookbook as zrelotka, because that is what she told me it was, and of course it just means apple cake, or apple pie. I can't recall. It was a very tasty cake. Take care of yourself. Losing your voice sucks. Yes, Luxler, it does. I have only lost my voice completely once in my life. Usually I manage to keep it. But the one time that our household got COVID, we managed to avoid it for almost 3. How long did we avoid it? It was a long time until it finally caught up with us, because, everything just opened up again as if nothing happened. And for 48 hours, I had no voice, not even a whisper. I'm not talking, you're hoarse and you can barely manage to talk. I had nothing. Not even a peep. I had to communicate every single thing I wanted to communicate with spouse by typing it on my phone. And one thing is to type the occasional thing, but when that becomes your only mode of communication, goodness, I empathize with those people who have to do that every single day, because it takes a while. And then you start thinking, do I really need to communicate this, or am I just gonna skip it and just lie here until I get better? Because it's so much faster to talk. Usually I prefer typing if I'm on my computer, but I was sick enough that I was just lying in bed, so typing on the phone was all I had. And after those 2 days, I started getting the tiniest of voice back, and it still took a week for it to be back completely. It was intense. At the same time, I felt really, really lucky, all things considered, because somehow it only affected my vocal cords. It didn't do anything it didn't close up my esophagus, my breathing. Wait, esophagus? That's wrong, isn't it? My windpipe. It didn't close that up at all. I could still breathe just fine. It was super bizarre. It was just my vocal cords, so super, super lucky that I didn't get any problems with my breathing. So I'll take that any day over getting problems with my breathing, because we know how dangerous that can get quickly. And that was what we were afraid of, looking at how people did get COVID and what they struggled with in the hospitals. So I absolutely not begrudging, other than it was quite frustrating, but I'll take it any day over the alternative. So super, super lucky in that regard. But yeah, I have never before or since completely lost my voice for a long time, not even for an hour, just completely gone. Usually when you lose your voice, you still have a whisper of a voice, and it's barely there, but it's still, you can still talk somewhat. Nothing, not a peep. And even after those 48 hours when I started to get it back, I could get a few words out here and there. It still took several days to be able to speak full sentences. It was, I've never experienced anything like it. I'm not used to that kind of thing. Migraines are one thing, but that was something else. Truly. Do not recommend, but fascinating at the same time. Wind pump trachea. Thank you, yes. It's all those different parts of our fascinating physiology. Glad Hatter 2, I hope they feel better soon and you manage to stay healthy. Me too. It's always challenging. Luckily, usually in our household, knock on wood, we manage to stagger. Someone will bring whatever it is home and they will be sick first, and then they get better, and then the second person gets sick instead. So usually manage to stagger it a bit so that one can take care of the other while we're sick, which is still frustrating but helpful. We are about to have some more ads. So remember to hydrate. You are so cute. And if you didn't want to be snuggled, maybe you shouldn't have chosen a lap. That's what happens when you're as cute as you are. At least there's purring, so I can't be that annoying. Should have started up there, shouldn't I? I think we can still figure out a route that works. I love, or at least my brain loves, planning out routes when I'm embroidering russet stitches to try to find the most efficient, both in terms of number of stitches, but also how much embroidery thread you use. Deeply satisfying to me. This is the little thing that you just get to sit there and optimize. Let's see, how are things? How are the stats? How are things doing? Is everything... Everything appears to still be good in terms of stats. Sometimes OBS decides to not show me more YouTube chat, and then I wonder if chat is being quiet, which happens because we're a fairly quiet stream. The chat rate is manageable. I can manage to sometimes keep up with things, and sometimes people have been chatting for half an hour before I realize that it's been suspiciously quiet for a long time, and really it was just technical challenges, and then I feel a bit bad. But does not seem to be the case right now, at least, though I could be mistaken. I kind of have grown fond of just throwing colors any which way, especially on accessories like crafty tools that gets to live in a little bag and bring a smile on your face every time you pull it up. You don't have to. Usually when it's my own clothes, I go for something neutral so that it's easy to just pull on whatever is in the wardrobe. I can words. But with accessories like this little pouch, just go wild with the colors just because I can. Is kind of fun, I have to admit. Just to be allowed to just go for whatever vibrant, happy fun, any which way, any which color, just because you can. It's one of the things I like about making stuff up as I go, is that I can just do whatever. Don't have to follow a pre-mediated pattern if that is not what I feel like doing in the moment. Oh, come on. There you go. Luxelaire says, same. I love trying to save embroidery thread. Probably why I usually use way too long of a thread for my projects to save on knotted bits and whatnot. The temptation is real with that. Also, you know, you want to do the embroidery bit, and fastening threads is, and cutting embroidery thread is taking away from precious embroidery time. But at the same time, having a really long thread means that I'm pulling on the thread a whole lot, which also decreases my embroidery time. It's very rude, this optimization of getting a good amount of embroidery stitches in time versus trying to be as efficient as possible, but maybe it isn't all that efficient after all. Maybe I should do some stats, do some experiments to test different lengths of starting sewing thread or embroidery thread and see if it truly is more stitches per minute, hour, whatever you want to measure, depending with the variables being, you know, longer or shorter thread, which means longer or shorter between each time you have to fasten and cut the thread, or the longer time that you spend pulling on the thread of a longer thread, and is there, you know, a golden point right there in the middle where you manage to get the most enjoyable embroidery done, or sewing, or whatever, versus either pulling on thread or fastening and cutting it as you have to change for a new thread. You guys always make me think of the most fun things that I want to figure out, like I want to find the answer to this. Marianne says, time for dinner. Have a nice day, evening, night. Same to you, Marianne. I hope you have a good dinner. Lucy says, hello, Kristine. Love the patchwork. Saw your catch up with Shannon. Was looking forward to see your patchwork, and I'm very inspired to start English paper piecing. It was so much fun to meet Shannon in person. We've been chatting, you know, online because the internet is amazing, and it was the first time because where she's doing her circus contract is, you know, not too far away from where we are, and it was so much fun. She's such a nice person. We had so much fun, and I too found English paper piecing a lot of fun. Honestly, I want to find like smaller templates. I can do even smaller pieces of scraps, because I managed to go through a fair bit of what I call my medium-sized scraps, and it's not done yet. It's still gonna be a while. I am very slow. Hopefully I have something else to tide us over in the meantime. I thought about working on that today, but realized I was a little bit too tired for what I needed to do. But yeah, it's I saw that video too. It's super fun. I really love it when she does those community stash projects where people send her stuff and you just get these glorious combinations of all sorts of different fantastic projects. It's just, yeah, it's absolutely recommend. I've had a guest the previous week and I got to start on one of those projects, and being able to sit on the couch and chat, it's a very good project because it's another one of those projects where you're stitching and you can chat with your friends at the same time. Absolutely recommend. So there's something will be coming eventually. I'm just really slow both at sewing things and editing, so I'm doing my best. It shall be here eventually, hopefully by the autumn. That's what I'm hoping. I don't think it'll be, you know, until next year. I hope it'll be, you know, the next month or two, but it is coming. It is coming. I'm just terribly slow. Shannon edits so fast. I'm super amazed at how much she gets done. It's just incredible. Joanna too says, we totally need an experimentation series to find the optimal thread length for embroidery. For science! Yes. It is a very good reason to do something just for the science of it. I need to do a table. Oh no, this is not what I was supposed to be working on. But it's so much fun. Also very fun is intentional mismatching, like making one sock in blue with white trim and the other white with blue trim, or having two different sleeve colors on a shirt. Yes, I love that. It's so much fun. I love when we introduce a bit of whimsy in our wardrobe or in our homes, because I mean, when I look at it, I smile, and that is worth so much. I think that is worth it. Just having things that bring you joy, and if it brings you joy because, I mean, I have several things that bring me joy because a friend gave it to me and I feel loved when I look at it. And then there are other things that I look at and I feel joy because they're silly and they're fun, and yeah. I want to put more whimsy in the everyday because we all need a little reason to smile, and sometimes you even manage to make strangers smile on the bus, and that is also absolutely worth it. Let's see. Emma in England had a YouTube tutorial that I saw the day before yesterday. She made English paper piecing bookmarks shaped like beautiful flowers. I'll go find a link for you. I think you would love it. Let's see. I think YouTube doesn't really like links, Kathleen. If you want to share it, I would recommend that you share it in our Discord. We have, I mean, where would an English paper piecing thing work? Maybe we should have a thing in the stitching that is just patchwork. That could be fun, but I would recommend that you put it in the Discord because YouTube tends to eat links because it thinks you are spamming something malicious or anything, so they generally get deleted before I even see them. So it's not like I could stop them even if I wanted to, as far as I know. Granted, my knowledge of live streaming is still rudimentary at best. But if you wanted to share a cool video, then video recommendations, for instance, is a good place to start. Let me see that. There is a link to you. There's also a link in the pinned comment that where you can find our Discord, where you are very welcome to share a good video. We have a lot of different channels. We have self-promotion where people share things they've made themselves, like YouTube videos or things like that, but also just a video recommendation where if you come across an awesome video and you think the community will enjoy it, just share it. Just share it with all of us. I sometimes get questions if it's okay to share links to other channels, and honestly, why not? Everyone is welcome to share the joy of things they make or things they do in the various ways. So you're very welcome to share it there. I love that you two got together. Me too. It was so much fun. Shannon is such a lovely person. We just talked and talked and talked and talked. I wish we had more time. But it was so lovely, just as lovely in person as she is on screen. Just super good time. Really lucky that to call her a friend. Yeah, super sweet human being. Absolutely amazing. And Joanna says, I was never interested in doing patchwork myself, but I just had the idea that I could try and sew colorful fabric pieces onto a backing in the style of stained glass. Oh yes! Oh, there are so many pretty versions of things like that. Oh yeah, there's so much pretty art that does things in that style. Absolutely, that sounds like an amazing project, and maybe even a good way to use scraps, depending on what kind of projects you're wanting to do. Sometimes you do need specific fabric, but yeah, do it. Make the fun stuff. Found and join, just have to wait 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry about that. It's again more spam protection because it's just me moderating at the moment. Sometimes spouse pops in, but until I can I don't really, I know it's common to hire moderators without paying them, but I feel so weird. I mean, this channel and the community is in a way it's everyone's community, but I also feel a bit like, you know, it's me running around doing stuff, so I should, if I hire someone, I should be able to pay them, and I can't pay myself either yet, so I don't know, I feel weird. But at some point, if we grow large enough, we will need more moderators, but some of those safety measures are in there so that it's easier for me when I step away to do other work to moderate and avoid things. Hopefully, like there is this thing called like a bot raid, where someone, for the fun of it, makes bots that join a server en masse, like a lot, and they just spam lots of weird stuff, and they do it just for fun, and that would be devastating. I mean, that could still happen to our server, but I'm hoping that, sweetie, that we can try to reduce some of it. You are so asleep and so adorable. I can't really give you more stuff to lean back on. Okay. There's some really nice stained glass quilts online, and they're so pretty. Oh, I believe you. People are so creative. People make so much amazing stuff. I love that you take care of yourself and also find a way to be friendly, open online. I get nervous about things like that. Yeah, it's a challenge, to be sure, isn't it? That balance between having an open and friendly space, but also putting in safety measures to keep your members safe. It's such a balance. We do the best we can and hope that we manage somehow. I'm sure there will still be times when things happen that weren't supposed to happen, because that always happens on the internet at some point. You can never avoid it, but hopefully we can, I don't know, mitigate things the best we can. And I mean, the community is amazing. I'm not worried about community members. It's, you know, people doing pranks or doing things that just for the fun of it, that can be a challenge. As far as I know, it's a very friendly space. It's very open and welcoming. And people always credit me for making a nice community, but I'm like, I'm hardly there. I pop in to see if I need to moderate anything, and then I need to go to work, and you guys make the community. You are the ones talking to each other, helping each other, sharing links, and being friendly and open and doing all the amazing stuff that some of you credit me for. And I'm like, I just built a room for you to be a community. You are the community. You are the people making it a welcoming space and doing amazing things, and yeah, making it a space we can all be proud of hanging out in and helping each other with. I think that is amazing. That is still my favorite thing about the internet, is the community aspect that you can have. You know, people who might feel lonely and separated from everyone else can have a place that they can be if they are, you know, have chronic illnesses and are stuck at home, or if it's that they live in a place where their hobbies are very unusual or anything like that. I just find that really, really nice. And, you know, that is my big favorite thing about the digital age and internet and things like that we can talk to people from across the world in no time at all and truly have a community like that. That's, yeah, if nothing else, that is, I think, the best thing to come out of the internet, as we call it. I have a very snoozy little madam. Pink and yellow is such a vibrant combination. It's kind of fun to look at. See, I think we are just about getting there. Here we go, a bit of vibrant. Let's see if we can zoom. Some stars and flowers in yellow and pink. That was the progress we did today. No edge embroidery, just decorative stitches in the middle, because we can, and it's fun, and we are allowed to do whatever we want. And I think that shall be the end of it. I might have to entice my little madam so that I can go on to bed. And I hope everyone has a lovely rest of their day, rest of their week, beginning of August. Is it beginning to be, autumn season yet? When will the leaves turn? It's a while until yet, but I always feel like August is sort of the start of when we can start to hope our way towards autumn and cozy season and all of the yellow and orange and red leaves. But yeah, I hope you have an awesome rest of all of the things. If you are new here, I try to stream around this time. It's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. roughly Norwegian time. On Thursdays, we tried to at first we tried to do it any which time to try to accommodate different time zones, but my brain sort of does schedules automatically, so we sort of landed, at least for now, on Thursdays, and I hope that we can reach as many people as possible. And if you are in the Discord, I announce when they are soon to happen, and also if I am sick or anything, if I get a migraine or anything like that, I will let people know so that you know to expect it. But other than that, we try to do a little bit of a cozy, crafty hangout once a week, and everyone is welcome to join us if that is listening while you do housework or crafting with us, or just chilling, listening, doing nothing. That is completely allowed. We don't judge or, demand anything. You can just hang out. But yeah, thank you very much for coming. This is always very nice to hang out with you guys. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.